So yeah, thanks everybody for joining. Excited to be presenting you the lost key solution that we've been working on since a little before January. As you all know, there are a number of people out in the ecosystem who are Genesis account holders who still have access to their Ethereum private key, but have, for one reason or another, lost access to their EOS private key. Either they lost it, they failed to record it correctly. There are even some cases we've discovered that of phishing sites that were providing users with incorrect private keys, and hackers were keeping the correct ones. Fortunately, all of the cases we've looked into, all of these accounts, the tokens are still staked. There's been no activity on them. And we wanted to provide a method for these users, especially, you may remember looking back to January when we started this, that was when the ECAF order was expiring to, there was an order from ECAF, one of these particular cases ordering us to return the account to who they found to be the rightful owner. They went through a very similar kind of process that we're kind of going through in here in terms of having the user prove their identity with an Ethereum private key, but it was a manual process going, one by one, and it was clear that it was not something that the BPs were supporting. So we decided, let's build something automated that users can come and claim their accounts, and through the smart contract and some other tools we built, they'll be automatically swapped. So that's at a very high level. A user with an Ethereum key Genesis account can go to our portal, enter their account name, prove their identity with their Ethereum key. That will trigger a key swap to occur in 30 days. The EOS account that is scheduled to have the key swap, there will be a memo sent to that account indicating this account is scheduled to have its key swapped. All you need to do to cancel this swap is to authorize a transaction on this account. So any account that has been used is out of scope. We won't be swapping keys on a used account, and using an account after it's been scheduled for a swap will cancel a swap. So a user, a potential key holder for an EOS account who is potentially, somebody's taking advantage of maybe they've accessed their Ethereum keys but not their EOS keys. There is a way to prevent that. That's basically at a high level. Rohan or Michael, either of you have anything to add?
Yeah, no, I think you've captured it well. Any questions so far? I think we can probably answer the questions they might have. Any questions, guys?
No, I think from my perspective, it's fairly straightforward. It's one of those things where you don't know what you don't know. As was described just then by Daniel, was my understanding of what was going on, but really here just to find out if there was anything else to it, or if anything else we needed to know.
Yeah, okay. In a nutshell, what happens is people who don't have their EOS private key, they can send us a new key with their Ethereum keys, and then we don't reset it immediately. We have a 30-day 30-day period where we monitor it, and then it then goes through after 30 days. So that's essentially what's going to happen. And yeah, we thought about things like messaging. And
yeah, I was just going to say, this doesn't apply to every single Genesis account. We've created a filtered list of people who are eligible, and these are people who've never used their account, had a Genesis, and had less than 100,000, I believe.
Yeah, it was 100,000. Yeah, so go ahead, Michael.
I was going to say, this is just this is quite an important part of the contract, and there are 2 contracts, and one of them is holding the whitelist. So I think we'll run through that in a minute, just to explain why there's all these contracts with keys still open.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a good idea to go into maybe a little more in depth into the contracts. Like you said, that we've got a whitelist. Very simple. Anyone who's on this whitelist is in scope potentially. If you're not on the whitelist, you're not a Genesis account, or your account has been used, you're not going to be on the whitelist, so you're out of scope.
It sounded like you guys have done, well, I know I was on the last conversation where a couple of people were talking about potential attack vectors, and it sounded like most of them were pretty well thought through. I guess, are there any cases at this point in time, any attack vectors that you're aware of or as potential risks?
Yeah, the only kind of thing that we've addressed, but we'll have to monitor is if the Ethereum private key is lost and the Ethereum account is hacked, and for some reason the EOS keys are safe but the account is unused. That's the only thing that we'll have to. We have scripts which will run off chain, track the Ethereum blockchain, and see what it is. So Kedar has a script which will do that, and we can block it off. But that's all. Besides that, we can't think of anything else.
Okay. Is there a kind of have you time boxed this feature or active? I guess what I'm trying to figure out is, like, are you for the rest of eternity responsible for making sure those scripts are running, or are we giving people a window to say, look, here's your chance, do it by now, or or it goes away?
We're giving them a year to claim, and like I said, it takes 30 days for that from the time they claim for it to execute.
Gotcha. Okay. Sounds
And
good.
that date is hard coded into the contract at the moment.
Cool.
So it will only go up to the 20th of April next year.
Makes sense.
Right. Do you want to have a look at some code then? We'll see roughly how all this works. I think it might explain a lot, because otherwise it's a bit confusing why we have a lot of different accounts. I'm just going to share my screen. Get the right one. Okay, so this is the main contract. Can take a look in here. So there's really only two functions here which people are going to use. There's this one, which is the verify, which will take a signature from the Ethereum account and verify that that signature is correct. Then it will look it up in the whitelist table to make sure that we've put it into that discussed whitelist. Once that's done, it will just create a record in the verifications table here to say when it was verified and the new public key that they want to update the account to. It would then send this message, well, these three messages to their account using like a block Twitter style transaction. Just to say, if anything has happened to your account, just use your account and it will cancel this transaction. We decided against putting a URL in there for anything because scammers. Okay, once it's been verified, after 30 days, anyone can call this update auth. And this will check that it's past the waiting period, which is coded in at 30 days. So once it's verified, the waiting period has passed since verification, it will check again that it's whitelisted. So this is the point where we can remove them from the whitelist during those 30 days. If we remove them from the whitelist, then they're going to fail at this point again here because they're no longer whitelisted. It will again check that they're unused in case the account holder actually got the keys and decided to block it themselves. And then it will update auth here. It will set the verification to updated here, which means that you can't run verification twice. So you've got one shot at this. If you lose your keys again, then you're screwed. The rest of them are just helper functions. This is that notify the block Twitter function. This is to reset all our verifications if we need to. We almost certainly won't be using that though. That will clear all the verifications. This is how we assert if they're unused or not. So we check two parameters on chain, which is get last used and get account creation time. If these are equal, then it means the account has not been used and we can read off chain. Assert whitelisted just checks if they're in that whitelist table. This is the hard-coded date for April the 20th next year. And this one you don't need to worry about. Okay, so you can see here that the whitelist contract is being directly read from its whitelist contracts table. And the reason we put this into a different contract was that we have to fill a huge amount of data in there. And it wouldn't be possible to have block producers submitting proposals. There was about 380 transactions I had to make this morning. So if we, yeah. Okay, so this is deployed into the eosIO.lost account. And then we also have the whitelist contract, which is this one here. This is very simple. It just literally keeps add, remove. We can add the Ethereum account and the EOS account. Oh, sorry. Yeah, the Ethereum address and the EOS account name that pair to each other for the reset. We can call remove as 8 block producers. And so this has the contract loaded. It has all the accounts listed in the table. And it also has a special permission here, which is this modify one, which allows prod.miner to remove, or we will, it should have a linked action permission here, but
no, they just took it off. That feature's not there anymore. I noticed.
Blocks. Okay, yeah. So it does have an action linked here, which is to remove anything from the whitelist. So 8, I think it is. Is it 8?
Yeah.
Yeah. 8 BPs can remove an item from the whitelist.
Yeah.
So they
we had discussed making that just 1 BP. So the idea of this is that, let's see, there's some corner case where our scripts don't remove an account and somehow we find out that there's an account scheduled to be swapped and we find out that we should be removing them, so we can remove them. But we didn't want to make it too easy to have only 1 BP be able to remove them in case there are, for example, a few BPs who have not, this is going to require 15 out of 21 BPs to deploy. Perhaps the 1 or 2 holdouts want to prevent any keys from getting swapped. They would have been able to call that function. So we made sure that there are at least 8 required to do that. Sorry, go ahead, Michael.
Okay, yeah, so that's the reason why we have the different whitelist account, which is this one. And as you can see, it's still opened up to keys. We will resign this to EOSIO active so that block producers will be in control of this account. We have some scripts to verify that the data loaded here actually matches the data which is in the CSV provided by EOS Authority. And we have some tools, but we recommend people write their own tools as well to verify that there's nothing in here. Because in theory, any extra account added here could be cheating and could be, it could be just an unused account which somebody wants to take, and then they just put in any Ethereum address that they have control over. So this is a very powerful database here. So it needs to be verified before we resign it. I think that's about it, really. That just explains that there's a different contract for the whitelist. This is the script which Kedar wrote, which will check to see if an account has been hacked or looks like it's been hacked. You see it does various different checks. Obviously, anyone is free to cancel or remove anything from the whitelist at any time. Anyone can propose it to the other BPs with a good reason why. I think that's about it. Any questions?
Oh, that seems pretty solid, man. Yeah, you guys have certainly put enough effort into this.
It's taken a while. I just realized how long we've been doing this since before Christmas.
Yeah.
Time flies when you're having fun.
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, Michael touched on the fact that this is going to need to be verified by ideally, third party, basically any of the BPs who are approving this. Hopefully should take a little bit of due diligence to check that whitelist indeed contains only Genesis accounts, that meet the criteria. Rohan, I believe, has created a script that BPs are free to leverage. But like Michael said, ideally we want to have redundancy. It'd be good if we have, BPs independently create their own way to validate that.
Yeah, essentially what you do is you go to the Genesis snapshot, which has a list of account names and Ethereum addresses, and we just verify that exactly that's loaded in and there are no other accounts. And yeah, we have a script in the lost key repo which checks that. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, okay. I'll do an independent pull of those two and cross-check it for us.
Excellent.
Oh, by the way, I've just submitted it to the chain for the first step of the proposal.
So it's in 2 steps, right? You create the EOS lost first, and then we deploy.
That's to create the account there that I just put in.
And second step will be proposed only after this is deployed. Is that right, Michael?
Yeah. So now we need to check this is okay, and we also need to verify the whitelist.
Yeah.
And if I get back a good number of okays on the whitelist, then I'll resign it. I'm going to sell the rest of the RAM and pay back the sponsors, and then I'll resign it to EOS.io before the code is deployed for the lost. Because you'll notice that this is actually a little blocks versus EOS Authority battle going on here. What was I saying? Yeah, so I'll make sure it's resigned before we deploy the code, because it's going into a privileged account. If you notice, the account is being created as privileged, which means that it can do anything it wants on the network, including changing keys.
Right. Shout out thanks to EOS Dublin, who else? Infinity Block or Liberty Block, DAC Nation were the sponsors of the RAM. How much RAM did we end up having to use overall, Michael?
We originally had 700 EOS worth, and we're about 80% used. So I guess it's a total of about 630 EOS, something like that. No, less, 530 EOS. Sorry.
Cool. All right. Any other questions from anybody? Can we count on everyone's support to approve our first, the first step at least? Have you guys thought about whether or not you'll be supporting this?
Yeah, I can tell you that EOSphere are very keen supporters of this solution. Obviously, we need to make sure it's been reviewed internally and we're happy before we vote for it. But yeah, absolutely.
Great. Any feedback from you? Like, is there anything here that is maybe jumping out as a red flag? Maybe something that might prevent somebody from supporting, something that maybe we should start addressing sooner rather than later?
Not that I can see. I haven't had the conversation with the team yet just to confirm, but at this point I don't see anything specific that jumps out at me.
Great. Well, in that case, so we will be definitely active in the Telegram channel. So if, as you guys are reviewing, keep in touch. Let us know if you come across anything. Feel free to ask questions. And yeah, we're really looking forward to hopefully seeing this live and getting these people having their accounts recovered after so long.
Thank you guys for doing all the hard work, man. This is good stuff.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thanks for your engagement.
Cheers, man.
Cheers.
Great.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks. Bye.
Take care, everybody.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Guys, bye.